and thanks, Mohit. So, yeah, I've been listening, very, very deeply over the past half an hour. Fantastic discourses talking about curiosity and talking about transcendental stuff like that. So, as an avid reader of books, and all of us as we are, we get inspired by many books. We get inspired by thought leaders. But nobody has so far captured my imagination by his entire body of work as Dr. Isaac Asimov. In fact, he lived for 72 years. He would have been 100 this year. 1920, January, he was born in Petrovich, Russia. Age of 3, emigrated to the US with his parents. Well, and then curiosity took over. And by the time he was 21, he had already published many works in the Astounding magazine, which was edited by a legend that time, John W. Campbell Jr. And couple of years later came his Foundation trilogy, which made him a serious science fiction author. But there's more to Asimov than science fiction. But throughout his life, he has written over 500 volumes of science fiction, which a lot of you know. He has written mysteries. He has written mystery books. He has written standalone books, a whole lot of standalone books which are devoted to popular fiction and science. He has written autobiographies, being biographed. He has written books for children. He has a whole lot of books for children. He has written books on fantasy. He has written books. He has written mystery books. So he has continuously written books on every possible thing which is there in the universe. 100 plus science fiction, he's written science, he's written literature, he's written guides to Shakespeare, he's written guides to the Bible, and of course lots of short stories. But if we just, I'm going to, for positive time, I'm going to focus on his science fiction. More than science fiction, I look at it as social commentaries. His Foundation, the first trilogy that he wrote, it is all about studying that's where curiosity comes in, studying ancient Roman Empire and the rise and fall and what happens when there's a strong general, weak emperor, strong emperor, weak general, how the peripheries start declaring independence. And that's true everywhere. That's a universal truth. So he takes universal behavioral stuff and he pleasurably presents it to us in the form of a story, which in his way was 20,000 years in the future. His robot series stories, in fact, he has written robot series which are quite a bit, the entire robot stuff, all robots and robot series. He wrote about robots as things which help you do your daily chores, take on the dangerous work, and are guided and governed by the 3 laws of robotics, which are still attributed. But that gives us a glimpse on what privileged life becomes. And remember which era he was formed from, and he was obviously talking of slavery and sort of. In many of his books, robots, they don't revolt really, not the dangerous robots in fiction, but there are issues which have been talked about, sociological issues. Except the Bicentennial Man, which is written, has also been made into a fantastic film, where a robot wants to be called a human and finally has to change some things where he dies to be called a human, otherwise nobody is ready to accept him. So then his Empire series, the Empire series is very interesting. He has quite a few of them, 3 of them here. The Empire series are all about 20,000 years of history of how humans have moved across the universe, so 25 million planets. The whole entire sea voyaging part of the Spanish and Dutch and the British, he's converted that to a galactic exploration. Principles remain the same. So reading all this for a long period of time, sometimes reading it twice or thrice, has given me an inherent ability to interpret history. How people have something to gain or lose from certain events, how do they behave, how greed and fear and love and hate are universal. And the situation, the whole landscape changes, but things go on. This enables one to have a look at the future. His standalone books are also a fantastic value. They're standalone, they don't belong to his series. But one of them, Nightfall, which he wrote as a short story, and later on expanded to a full book, is the most awarded book in history. And it's about, again, a small hint of curiosity. He read about a line from Ralph Waldo Emerson's philosophical musings, that what would happen if we did not see the stars every night as we do? and if they were, we could only see them once in 1,000 years. So he constructed a world with 6 suns, and actually does social experiment through his book of what will happen on one in 2054 years when all suns go to one side and they see stars, darkness, and do people light up everything? Do they burn out everything? What happens to civilization? So he kept on doing this till he was 60 years old and did a lot of stuff. It's interesting thing about his universe, there were no aliens. He doesn't need aliens actually. He always portrayed the entire human sociological behavior through humans, but humans in different situations. So in 1982, he actually started a project. He actually wanted to link all his books together. So he started with these 2 books. These 2 books, he started linking his Foundation trilogy, and his Robot series, and his Empire series. He started filling in gaps and linked all of them into a 25,000-year history. An amazing project. He started and he couldn't finish it, but post his death, the Asimov Foundation has continued. So we are fortunate to have different Asimov books coming after him, written by professors of universities, Gregory Benford, David Brin, Greg Beer, and they continue his whole legacy. This universe, which is called Asimov's University, it has got sociological experiments which he's made, which we bring through today. Think of the world called Solaria, which was a beautiful world. People had large estates, and then they stopped immigration, stopped people from Earth from coming, saying, "Oh no, we have enough. We don't want it to become Earth again. Earth is steaming millions and billions." Another world, Aurora, actually had quarantines when people came from Earth, and they put them into quarantine. They wore gloves to shake hands with Earth people, because Earth people came from a populous world full of infection. Well, he spoke about Earth turning radioactive, spoke of underground bunkers where people live, and beyond a point, people have forgotten how the outside looks like. Perpetual lockdown. And one small boy gets out and discovers the Earth has healed itself, nature has healed itself, but no one knew. Nobody took the trouble to actually go out and see. So he spoke about how religion is used for power. Then he speaks about how traders gain power when religion loses its currency in his whole Foundation series. He talks about when robots, as they get more and more sophisticated with the positronic brain, which is his way of generally talking about an interactive brain, how they learn over time that while the law says that you have to protect every human, they can't do it. And they have to rather look at the whole tapestry of humanity, and then the whole robotic people, they come out with another law, 0th law, which is, should they always try to protect humanity from itself? And we know how it is nowadays. His most famous character is Harry Seldon, who actually tries to predict the whole future through a science which he invented called psychohistory. He had no other word for it. Is actually what nowadays is called big data analytics, coupled with behavioral economics. And if you look at it, you try to figure out how human populations react and how would they react, how would they develop. You can't predict one individual, but that's not important. So, but then the insurmountable challenge in front was something of what Charles Darwin faced. How do you study everything in your life? How do you study every human prevarications and predictions, and how do you predict? So the solution was found in him figuring out that this particular world frontier, which are multicultural, multiracial, 8 billion population, that's where he found his answer. He did what would be today's called proof of concepts. Well, in Asimov's world, book viewers were there, Kindle was there, video conferencing was there, the Zoom was there, and people viewed each other and did not want to all the time meet each other. He also speaks of black swan events, the mutants who come and get the entire planet haywire. So as a human being, he could see, and he could see further, as you can say, he was standing on the shoulders of giants. But his curiosity, insatiable curiosity about everything, he transferred into insightful books, pleasurable books, through which all of us became curiouser and curiouser, as Lewis Carroll would say. Well, in conclusion, Dr. Asimov, one thing I should mention, that for a person whose imagination went all over, he was mortally afraid of flying and never flew. And rarely, once or twice in his life, he never wanted to go out of his hometown. So staying in Boston almost all his life, sometimes going to Hawaii, but that's all. He never ventured out. So he had a pact with his dear friend, Arthur C. Clarke. And the pact was that he told Arthur C. Clarke that, look, as long as you tell that Asimov is the greatest science writer of the world, I will keep on telling Arthur is the greatest science fiction writer. Categorization aside, a glimpse into his mind widens our mind. That's why I thought it was important to share a glimpse into his life. Thank you.